Hi, my name is Erin Perkins, and this is my case study for AEP 858 on chronic absenteeism. Oops. All right, so kind of sum up what's going on here. We have Mr. Rhodes, who's a first-year principal at Golden Oak High School, who has been challenged by the superintendent with increasing the attendance at his high school. They've got students who are struggling with absenteeism for a variety of different reasons, whether it's sports injury related, um, a girl who's recently been married, um, another kid who has gone on trips with his family quite consistently. There were 5 kids that were cited in this study that had missed a good chunk of days, at least 10 or more. One of which was even held to truancy laws. An officer went out to the house, noticed that, that's just not a high priority there as getting an education. So staff have been really inconsistent with reporting and approving when it's okay for kids to be absent, when then they push it or not, whether the kid is doing well in class, whether they're saying sorry you've missed so much and your grade's going to be lowered, all of those different things. There's lots of missed signals going on throughout the school, and teachers are kind of making these decisions. So it's really kind of confusing as to what's valued in education and what the purpose of school attendance is going through this district and this high school specifically. So when we kind of take a look then at what these legal or ethical issues are, inconsistency really is an ethical problem within the school. You've got exceptions being made on teacher whim. If it benefits sports, you've got the sports director who's saying, we need this guy playing quarterback. So it's okay that he's missing and he's doing physical therapy. That's all right. No one is seeking principal approval either for these absences, which is one of the board policies, that if it's not an illness, it's not a death in the family, then these things should be approved by an administrator. There was only one of these 5 kids who was labeled truant, despite the fact that all of them could fall under that category. Why is that? What's making him different? Is he being singled out because of race, because of behaviors, all those sorts of things? And then legally, looking at the Prince versus Massachusetts Supreme Court decision, which has said that education is vital to the welfare of the state. Therefore, it's not unreasonable that a state require a student to attend a certain amount of days of school and that they should be held accountable if they are not meeting that. So basically, in a nutshell, what's happened, you've got Golden Oak High School staff has fallen into a bad habit of excusing kids from school based on their own personal judgments of the situation instead of holding to board policies and governing laws that is going to be for the benefit of students in their education and ultimately in building up their work ethic as well. So some things that we kind of necessarily don't know that would be worth knowing a little bit more about are all the teachers absolutely clear on the policy that unless it is X, Y, or Z stated there, then an admin should be brought in to approve these absences? With the students, what exactly is determining the factors for approval of being gone and not? Is it your academic standing? Is it somehow your race? Is it behavior that you're acting on in class? Is it the purpose that you serve for the community as opposed, being a sports player, those sorts of things? What is really determining whether teachers approve them being gone or not? We don't necessarily know completely the makeup of the socioeconomic status of parents and families here, and if that could play into that. And also, what is the administration history of being consulted for these absences? Sometimes, but has it been in the past that administrators have been consulted, or has it just not? These teachers have been around for quite some time. Do they think, since this guy's a newbie, we know better than he? Can we make these calls? What's going on with that? Um, we should probably know a little bit better, a little more about the overall community view and data of the surrounding areas. Are other schools having this problem? Is the community see this as a problem? Or is the community who's looking to hire these kids once they graduate um, thinking that them being in school on a regular basis and attendance is worthwhile? What's the community say? And then what other programs are in place for students who may be struggling in these issues? You're looking at a girl who's married in high school. What supports does she have? Are there technology accesses in some way, shape, or form? That's kind of the thing that's going on now. That could help kids be in school more if for some reason, like a kid who has to go to PT, he can be able to get lessons caught up online so it's not counted as that. What are those different things that are going on that could potentially help a kid who may not be able to make it to school or get to school or choose not to get to school? The kid who's traveling, I mean, he might be benefiting from technology access. All of those different programs could potentially play a part in how this problem would get solved. Um, so I think in each different one of these aspects, there's a concern here. With students, absenteeism has been shown to lead to a poor work ethic or poor work attendance. You're also missing out on your education, so things that you vitally need to be able to have a higher paying job, to be able to support yourself or a family down the line. Um, so that's something that is concerning from the student aspect. From the community, again, what is the work ethic of your future workforce look like? For parents, um, is law going to be involved with your kids? What is your kids' future is going to look like if you're not attending school on a regular basis? I mean, how are you going to have to continue to support them? How do you support them and get them where they need to be? And as a district, you've got an unbiased policy adherence, except for extraneous circumstances. So how are you going to present yourselves better that you've got a policy? This is why you have the policy in place. How are you going to hold people to sticking to that policy? So taking a look at options and consequences, one, you can make no change and just have a talking to the teachers. Hey, I've noticed this is a problem. Let's see if we can, stop making such judgment calls whenever we feel like Johnny Joe's okay to be absent, and we'll just keep approving those things. Do that though, you haven't really changed anything. You haven't done what the superintendent's asked for you to be able to um, fix this problem of chronic absenteeism. And you haven't helped the students out ultimately either, who are suffering from the fact that they're not there in school. You could put into place a strict no tolerance policy. No one is approved for absences except for illnesses, deaths in the family. Anything else goes towards your days of being truant. Law enforcement is going to come in all the time. That could start building up some tension within the community of, people, law enforcement having to get involved all the time if you have this strict. And again, there are certain circumstances where that would not be good for parents to have that, good for students to have that on a regular basis. Though it is one way to solve the problem, like that's just how it's going to be. Or we could look at putting some interventions in place where you're getting involved as an administrator with approval for absences. So you're having the conversation with the kids, you're giving another bug in the ear, figuring out what's going on, being able to use your counselors to conference with families. You're just more aware of what's going on in the community, and you can see those little problems, bits and pieces, and being able to approve things in certain circumstances. No, this is not why it's going to be approved and why, and let's sit down and talk about it. Having some professional development on absenteeism with the data that goes along with it so that your teachers are more aware, and potentially bringing law enforcement in to give a presentation to students about this is why it's important to be in school, this is what could happen if you don't, the bigger, longer consequences. I want to see you there, and this is how I think it's going to be beneficial to you. Looking at these options then, making no change a pro, it's super easy, the path of least resistance. You just, it's not a huge deal. It's only, there's really 5 kids that had a major issue with it. But as a con, that's not really beneficial for those 5 kids and any other kids that could fall along into those certain patterns. Having a strict no tolerance plan, it gives you black and white plan laid out there, but it's really not beneficial. It takes teachers say out at all. It undermines previous decisions that have happened, and now all of a sudden you've got, well, hey, I used to be able to do that for you, kid, but sorry, I can't now, and talk to the principal about it because he's the bad guy who's not letting me anymore. When you put these interventions in place, you're going to get education for staff and for students. You're going to get administration and community involvement in what's going on, get more people invested with the situation. This is going to take time, which could potentially be a drawback. And you're going to have some hard discussions. And you're going to have to do a little bit of research to be able to put all that into place. So overall, the interventions are probably the best way to go. So you get the staff educated. You've empowered staff with conversations and joint decisions, so you're not having to make all these decisions on your own, and that's what I'm here for as I'm being an administrator. You're educating students on the importance of being in school, what it's going to lead to further down the line. You've got the community involved, and hopefully being able to provide some supports to show that it really is important that you are attending on a consistent basis. getting other parental supports in play, and being able to actually follow the policies that are written, because again, policies should be there for a reason. If for some reason that's not the reason, um, it's not a worthwhile policy anymore, that needs to be relooked at. But I do not think that that's the case in this issue. um, why I think that's the best decision? Well, professional development on absenteeism is in line with the superintendent's concern, brings to light the problem without pointing fingers. So it's not like you as a teacher have been excusing kids way too easily. You've been doing this, that, or the other thing. It's just, this is what we're going to learn about it, and this is why. Especially if you can find out from the community too that this is something that they value and think that it's important for kids to be in school. Throw that in there with it, because then it's a all of us working together thing, and it's not just we have to do this. Following the board policy again, by bringing the approval to the administration, allows for a better chance of consistency, because you've got just one person who's really filtering through all those things, and it's not just teachers making these decisions when they want to. Um, and it gets you as a principal involved in the school. Like I've said, counselor meetings with families allows for community resources to be identified should any need, and for a better educational track for students. And student education, or getting um, potential presentations from law enforcement, um, or just from the staff in general too, and focusing really on what work ethic is and community partnership, to be engaged in your community. And this is the community that you're going to serve someday when you've graduated high school, and having a job, what all of those are important. So everyone getting a little education in this situation as to why this is a problem that may need to be fixed, even though it's only a few kids who may be having real struggles with it. Start bolstering some of those things around there, so that you've created an atmosphere where kids know that why they should be there. They want to be there. They eventually want to be able to contribute to their community. And that's kind of the air and atmosphere that you want to be able to bring up with this issue. I apologize, for some reason I'm having a hard time getting this to shut down.